Good morning. It's Friday, July 15th. And every time I start looking for something to rant about, I realize that there are millions of people in the United States who are just plain stupid. And I want to talk today about a mother, a 32-year-old woman, and her 6-year-old son, who are in New York City, and she's taking him someplace on a motor scooter. And she drives in front of a bus, but the bus driver stops to let her pass. And then she turns right or left or whatever direction it is, and she gets run over by a guy driving an SUV. And she's killed, and the boy is injured. And neither one of them are wearing a helmet. So I'm looking at this scene and I'm saying, how many more stupid people do we have in this country? And what is this woman doing? Riding around in a scooter without the proper protection. And obviously, she wasn't a very good driver. Now, I can't say that for sure, but I would think that when you are riding a scooter in New York City, you have to be extremely careful. And you don't have your 6-year-old son riding around with you without a helmet, and she's not wearing a helmet, and the scooter's not registered, right? So I bet you there's not even any insurance on this scooter. And I don't know if this person had more children or not, because in the article there was very little historical information about this. So I have no idea whether she was a working mother, or whether they were just out shopping or whatever it was. But just think about that. Think about riding through New York City on a bicycle or a scooter without your helmet on. I mean, I rode in Smithtown and places like that where there's no traffic or anything, but I always had a helmet because you fall. I took a fall on a bike ride one time, and luckily I wasn't hurt, and the people I was riding with, none of them got hurt either. I was the only one that fell, but I was trying to avoid the person who was riding in front of me when she slowed down a little bit on a hill, so I had to tip the bike over. But in any event, riding around without a helmet is sheer stupidity. Sheer absolute stupidity. And I think this is a reflection on our whole country. I think we have too many people in this country who don't pay attention to what's going on around themselves, or they're very self-absorbed, and they don't do the correct thing all the time. And we can see that in the major issues that are going on in this country, right? The white supremacy, the gun violence, the infrastructure that's falling apart, the Senate, the Congress that can't get together and do anything. So it doesn't surprise me that this woman got killed, and I feel very sorry for the little boy. And I'm willing to bet you that there's no insurance on this vehicle because it wasn't even registered. So how can somebody do that? Don't they understand the consequences of an accident like that happened? Where are these people's heads? So when I went searching further more about the article, I found a picture of the woman, a very pretty woman, 32 years old. Her name was Winter King, and her son's name is Major. And they saw a picture of the scooter trapped under a car. And she supposedly, based upon people who knew her, said she's an experienced bike rider. There's no reason that she would have this kind of accident. But she wasn't riding her bike. Even the pictures of her on her bike, she didn't have a helmet. She was riding a scooter. And the picture that I saw, she wasn't wearing a helmet either. And the people that knew her and knew her boyfriend said she rode that scooter all the time, and she took kids in the neighborhood on rides on that scooter, and she put her daughter on that scooter. So she rode that scooter constantly, and it was unregistered. I didn't see a license plate on it when they showed a picture of the vehicle. So I say, if this person was an experienced bike rider, she should have known that she had to have a helmet, and her son had to have a helmet. Luckily, he escaped with only a few cuts and bruises on his face. but she had her head slammed against the ground. She worked as a security guard. So that's an indication of how she was living. Security guards don't make that much money. So if she was working as a security guard, it indicates to me, at least, that she probably wasn't a college graduate. She was a young woman, a healthy woman, and probably didn't have a great skill set to make a living. Not her fault, not blaming her, not saying anything like that about it. But those are the facts. Those are the facts. She's among the population in this country that needs more help, more education, and shouldn't be riding around in scooters without helmets. So when I look at this, it's a reflection on the entire country. It's a reflection on how we live day to day, and how many people in this country can't afford to live any better than that. Why is she driving a scooter? Probably because she doesn't have the money to have a car. Or maybe her boyfriend is not making, or maybe she's economically crazy and trying to save a dime here and there. But whatever the reasons that this person acted the way they did, sheer stupidity. And a reflection on too much of the population in this country. And so I leave you with this tragic story about people in this country who have to survive in some way, shape, or form. And I look at scooter riding as a survival technique, not necessarily as a love. So I leave you with that this morning, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.